Well, hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the Whole Brain Teaching Inclusive Best Practices with the Whole Brain Teaching Rules session. My name is LaKedria Lozano, and I am a gold certified whole brain teacher from Ohio. I teach K through 12 everything because now I run my own school, own and run my own school, but I primarily used to teach music full time. And I am joined here with my awesome colleagues, Tammy and Kyla, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name's Tammy Kirk, and I teach high school chemistry, and I'm excited to get to know you all through this session.
I muted myself. Hey, I'm Kyla Tesmer. I am also gold certified. I teach third grade in North Carolina, and I'm excited for this session tonight.
Thank you, Kyla and Tammy. And we also have Nancy in the chat. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
So she's going to be answering questions and kind of fielding some of this stuff, and as is Kyla. And we're all just kind of going to hang in there. So this session is the practices when we do our whole brain teaching rules. How can we accommodate or modify these rules for specific students? Sometimes we just need to do that, and so this will show you kind of what to do and how to do that. But first, before we jump into this session, has everyone gotten their copy? If you haven't, run. Don't walk to Amazon. And it's Prime Day today and tomorrow. Go to Amazon. Get Whole Brain Teaching for Challenging Kids, 2nd edition. It is all you need and then some. I'm telling you, it is a great read, one of the best reads I've had in a very long time, and it's fantastic. Also, if you haven't had a chance to get color writing and read color writing, also one of my top three books. So yes, definitely grab that. Coach has made the 2nd edition so easy to navigate, and for us teachers, he's modularized this, so you can go in and you can take any section of this book, any module that you need, anything you want, and you can use it, or you don't have to use it if you don't want to yet. You pick and choose what you want. It is fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. So definitely check that out if you haven't. I think Kyla put a link in the chat already if you haven't gotten that. So let's jump into my favorite question of all time. Every time I do one of these sessions, I want to know in the chat, why is inclusion important? I don't like the definitions that I've found, but I love hearing from teachers. So while you're typing that in the chat, I'm going to ask Tammy and Kyla to share why inclusion is important to them.
Well, thanks, LaKedria. Let me start with just high school scenario with inclusion. A lot of times we want to just create an environment where kids can be social. Social environment for those kids are really important. Both sides of the coin. You want kids in your regular class to be socialized with those that are not. And one thing I kind of think about when it comes to this type of learning is you want to make differences not feel different.
I absolutely love that. Like that is, that's so cool. And it really, really hits home for high schoolers because they have that, already have that perception of them. Like you're already dealing with hormones and everything else. You already feel kind of different. So anything else added on top of that is just something extra. Thanks. What about you, Kyla?
I am unmuted. Thank you, LaKedria. I love inclusion for the same fact of why Tammy said. I think it's so important for our Gen Ed kids and our little differences to kind of go together, and so that they can really learn the same things. They get to be on the same playing field. And it's really just great. And the work that you have done to open my eyes to ways that we can make whole brain teaching very inclusive is awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yep. And to me, it hits home to me. I'm a teacher with multiple disabilities. The one that people may see or may not see is I only have one eye. I'm blind, completely blind in one eye. Actually, it's a prosthetic. So my conditions are sometimes invisible. I also battle some chronic illnesses, very chronic pain conditions. So some are invisible and some are very visible when I meet people. So for me, I just want the world to be able to interact with everyone. You should be able to go up to someone in a wheelchair or with a guide dog and just talk to them like they're a human and not somebody scary. So it's very important to me that this start very early and very young. And what a great way to bring whole brain teaching into this, right? Into this inclusion model. All right, so I am going to send Kyla backstage. She is going to be manning the chat, and Tammy and I are going to kind of talk about the rules and how we can kind of make them work for some students. So Kyla will be back later on, and we'll get going.
Bye, Kyla.
All right, Tammy, are we ready? All right, so first, let's see, magic mirrors. Whoop! Magic mirrors. So the first thing we need to know about our students that we sometimes deem rascals. These are our kiddos that come in and they are often labeled as rascals. But the more we get to know them, they're not rascals. They're dealing with the brain state that they have. So some of our students with challenges are coming in with that enlarged amygdala. So what happens to that? They are stressed out. They have anxiety. So you might have some kiddos diagnosed with depression, anxiety. So they're not getting sleep. They may not be getting food at home. They just may be coming in with everything kind of thrown at their brain. So they're already coming into us with an enlarged amygdala, that fight, freeze, or flight response already. That is how they are coming to us. You also have some students, particularly those who struggle with ADHD, that come in with that wandering mind already, because we know with ADHD, there are some neurons in the brain that are not kind of connected right. So their brains are wired differently. And it's not a fault of their own. It's just the way their brains are. So our students are coming to us with different brain states. And some of the behaviors that we see from these students are not intentional. And as a teacher and a parent, that one is so hard to try to keep in our brains. So some of the behaviors that you may see in these students are not intentional. They're coming to us, again, with what they have, with the brain state that they have. Mirrors off. So, Tammy, can you talk about that a little bit? Can you paraphrase, talk about it? Maybe give us a situation that you had with a student coming in with a different brain state than we might think of?
Thank you, LaKedria. Social emotional is a big part of learning. And when kids come into our room and they haven't had sleep, they haven't been able to eat that morning, their brains are not thinking about what we're teaching. Their brains are thinking about survival. And so that's what we mean when we say their amygdala is large. It's fight, flight. It's that I'm hungry and I can't think about anything else type of thing. So our job is to try to reach out to those kids and understand that the way they're acting is not necessarily their fault. They come in with a brain that is responding differently than we expect. So we have to be able to reach out to that kid and understand, I can't fight them with my enlarged amygdala. I have to make sure that I am the adult in the room and understand that they have that situation going on.
Thank you, Tammy. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. So before we get into some of the rules, I just want to bring up a couple of different points. So these are very important points that I want to talk about before we even get into anything. Your expectations for your students are the same no matter what. So whoever comes into your classroom, you expect them to, act kind of the way we expect them to act. meet our expectations, right? So keep your expectations the same for everyone. Don't lower it for Johnny because we know Johnny has been identified with something. No, keep those expectations high. They're the same for everyone in the classroom, okay? Again, some behaviors are not intentional, okay? And with these rules, if you have not seen sessions on the rules, I know there were quite a few. I know Joanna did sessions on the rules and how to power up. So they are located on our Super Improver page under guides. So look for Joanna's sessions, and she did 2 rules at a time. So there are 3 different sessions on the rules. Make sure we are practicing them 3 to 5 times a day. It depends on your classroom, how you get that in, but 3 to 5 times a day. These rules are not just posters in the classroom. These rules are living things within our whole brain teaching classroom. So they're constantly referred to, and we constantly are practicing them. So typically 3 to 5 times a day. Okay. You also want to practice strong 5. Okay. It is in chapter 20 of the book, and it outlines everything and how to do it. Andre just did part 1 of Strong 5 this past Monday. Again, go back to our Super Improver page, look in the guide section, find part 1 on Strong 5. Part 2, I believe, is this coming Monday, so you don't want to miss that. But Strong 5, you want to practice that like a fire drill, like a tornado drill. Practice that Strong 5 drill because you're going to need it. I guarantee you, you're going to need that Strong 5 drill. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that whole brain teaching has a lot of different tools. Okay, we have so many things in our toolbox to use for whole brain teaching. And as much as you can in your classroom, you want to use that whole brain teaching toolbox. So you want to use your rule callouts. You want to use your practices. You want to use your flight school. You want to use Strong 5. However, if there is a high level behavior, and I love this term from Andre that I learned on Monday, high level behavior. If they're screaming, if they're fighting, if they're throwing desks and throwing chairs and hurting other people or themselves, you may have to revert back to your district's behavior plan. Okay, you can only use so much in your toolbox before you may have to do that. So, every school is different. We always say use, again, as much as your whole brain teaching toolbox as you possibly can. But if you're getting these high level behaviors and it's a safety concern, please revert back to whatever your school district's plan is for tackling those kind of situations. And then you can come back to your whole brain teaching toolbox after everything is calm and settled. There's ways to bring the student back into the classroom to do different things. So I wanted to make those points before we got into some of the rules. All right. Before I go into the rules, are there any questions in the chat right now that I can answer? Let me see. I'm just kind of going through. And I don't see any right now, so we're just going to keep it going. All right, Tammy. Are you ready for some magic circle, Tammy?
Ready.
Let's do it. Hey, yo, class.
Hey, yo, yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, LaKedria.
Mere words.
Mere words.
Rule number 1.
Rule number 1.
We're going to waggle our hand like a fish. Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Is rule number 1.
Is rule number 1.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Okay. I'm not going to make you teach because everyone, again, we can go back and do all of that in Joanna's training. She did a wonderful job. Now, what does rule number 1 look like? Rule number 1 is follow directions quickly. To kind of think about this, we have to remember that with different students, speed looks different to everybody. So as a teacher, how fast do you want these kids to go, right? How fast? If we have some mobility challenges in our room, it's not going to be very speedy, right? So just think about how fast you really want them to go. Model right way, wrong way, turtle hawk practice. How do you want them to move? Okay, so it's kind of like a fire drill. Do you want them jumping up and running around the classroom? I don't think so, because chairs would be falling down and everything. No, you want to do it efficiently and safely. So you want to model what that looks like fast, right? Adjust your expectations as needed. How fast do you really want your students to go? Again, you have to show them what that looks like. And then finally, I just want to say, and I talked to another special education teacher and said timers can be helpful or harmful to students. There are some students that do very well when you say, I'm setting a timer, how fast you go, right? There are other students, like my own children, who cannot stand timers, will shut down at the thought of them. You can't do it. So they're helpful and harmful. Know your kids, know your students, really get to know your students. So Tammy, can you sum up these, paraphrase, sum up rule 1 and kind of what we have to consider when we are thinking about rule 1 in our classroom?
Thank you, LaKedria. So what I can share with you from a high school perspective, and I'm sure this is true with any grade level, is that not all kids respond the same way. So when we say follow directions quickly, we need to look for improvement from our students. Some students are going to be super fast on day 1, and some students are going to be the one in March or April that earn that star for everyone because they're finally getting to that speed to match everyone else. So we want to always focus on improvement when it comes to follow directions quickly. When it comes to timers, there are going to be students that are going to really freak out with this idea of time. Many of us have taken time tests before, and we get that feeling a little bit, but can you imagine that feeling every time a timer gets out? So understand their emotions are going to be all over the place, and our job is going to be to maybe have them be the one that holds the timer instead of being the one that's getting timed.
I love that. Thank you so much. That was a really great idea. Thank you, because I'm going to use that. I'm absolutely using that idea. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tammy. So,
You're welcome.
yes, rule number 1. I love rule number 1, though, because it does get your students getting up and doing things efficiently. Again, you just got to show them what to do. Mm-hmm. All right, let's keep going. All right. Let's talk about stimming. Hey, class.
Hey, yes.
Mere words.
Mere words.
What?
What
Is stimming?
Is stimming?
What?
What
is stimming?
Is stimming?
Huh. Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
All right, so let's talk about stimming. In whole brain teaching, we have a couple of different rules that we have in place that I needed to go into a little bit more detail about what stimming is. First of all, it's known as self-stimulation or self-stimulating behavior or repetitive movements of our body or objects or something. It's just repetitive things that we do with our body. And I just want to point out, we all stim. Who bites their nails? I do. Who taps their pen and pencil? I do. Give me a hug really quick. Thank you. All right. Who taps their pen and pencil really quick? She's all good. Thank you. No. Thank you. Sorry, tiny humans. You guys get to see a little bit of my tiny humans. Anyway, we all stim in some way. Some people twirl their hair. Some people tap pens. Some people tap their fingers. We all do it. Okay. There are some kids with ADHD, autism, different behavioral issues going on that will stim all the time. Okay. I get a lot of hummers. I get a lot of tappers. I get a lot of just kind of crinkling paper. They have to be moving, So a lot of times teachers are like, what do I do? This student is humming and it's disrupting the class. I recognize that, yes, it is a disruption. It's an absolute disruption to your class, but we should not try to stop a stim unless it is physically harming that student or other students. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to work with special education teachers. We're going to work with our occupational therapists. We're going to work with counselors to find a replacement behavior. For example, if my student, I had a tapper, I had a pencil tapper, and oh my goodness, it was just, people couldn't get their work done. So I said, hey, can I give you something else to tap? You can tap this all you want. You know what I gave that student? I gave them a pipe cleaner. Mm-hmm. And I said, instead of this pencil, go ahead and tap away at the pipe cleaner. It was much quieter. The tapper was happy. The students around the tapper was happy. So you want to find something to replace it with. The hummers, the people who vocally stim, I'm a music teacher. I have not found a cure for that yet, other than giving them an opportunity to just kind of do what they need to do, or giving them a safe space to go do it. And if they need to, if they're a little older, have not found that out, or haven't found a cure for that yet in my classes, because we're humming all day long. However, you can work again with your special education team. Occupational therapists, speech therapists are a very good resource for different things to replace humming with. Maybe they need to chew gum. Maybe they need to do something else with their mouth. They need that sensory oral thing that's going on. And if it's the noise, we can figure that out too. So you work with your team of experts to figure out a replacement behavior. So Tammy, can we sum up, please, just what are STEMs and kind of what we can do about them?
Thank you, LaKedria.
You're welcome.
So stemming just seems to be any kind of repetitive behavior. It could be biting your fingernails, could be tapping on your desk, which does kind of disrupt other students. It could be just moving back and forth in your seat the entire time you're in the room. Most likely I see them going forward and backward. But stemming is something that's not intentional. It's just part of the way that the child expresses themselves or soothes themselves. And so we need to understand it's not something that we need to discipline them for. We need to figure out a way to find an alternative stimulation place in the room for them to do it if it is disrupting other students.
Thank you, Tammy, so much. You do such a great job at paraphrasing. I love it. I love that. All right,
Thank you.
As we talk about stimming, that brings us to rule number 2. Hey, yo, class.
Hey, yo, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, LaKedria.
Mere words.
Mere words.
Rule number 2.
Rule number 2.
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
For permission to speak.
For permission to speak.
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
For permission to speak.
For permission to speak.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Okay, raise your hand for permission to speak. Okay, so the first thing you have to know, we have all kind of different ways to stop our blurters, right? There's the blurt game, there's the rule call out game, there's all of that, right? The first thing you need to figure out before you do any of that is it a stim or is it a blurt? If it is a stim, you will know within the first maybe week of class if it's a stim. If it's going to be a constant problem, you're going to know. If it's a blurt, it's not going to happen, I hope, nearly as frequently. Sometimes it might, though, because I will say that sometimes, and I've seen this with students that are autistic. I've seen these with students that are ADHD and just kind of lack the impulse control. Blurting is a stim for them. Blurting is an actual stim for them. And we have to realize, is it blurting? Is it really blurting? Are they just trying to tell us what they had for dinner last night? Or is it a stim? And again, we're going to know this as we get to know our students. So I wouldn't call it out until you really, really kind of get to know your students. So is it a stim? Is it a blurt? We have to figure that out first before implementing any of the other things that we do with Rule 2, the Rule 2 call out or playing the blurt game. We got to figure that out first, okay? Just so you know, if you are blind or visually impaired, the way that we, and I say we because I'm in that category of blind, the way that we raise our hand is by saying our name. Do you know why? We can't see the other people in the room. We have no idea who's there. So we say our name in order to raise our hand. And it gets very interesting in a room full of blind people who, again, we all want to raise our hand at the same time. So you get a whole bunch of names being said at the same time. It's actually really funny. So that is our way of raising our hands. I don't know if anyone knew that or not, but I wanted to throw that out there just in case you had a student with a visual impairment who was trying to raise their hand or see who's raising their hand, etc. Right? And then we should never punish for stimming. Never, ever, ever punish for stimming or a vocal stem. Okay? Never punish for a stem, a vocal stem, and know that the Rule 2 call-outs for somebody that is stimming or just experiencing that in that moment may be very provoking for that student. You might cause that student to shut completely down or have a high level behavior because they think they're doing something wrong, or they don't think they're doing anything wrong, but everybody in the class is kind of upset because, again, recognize that some of this is a distraction to the class, and your job is to work with the team that you have. And if you don't have a team, that's what our Facebook groups are for. Forbrain Teaching Inclusive Facebook page is a great page to go ask those questions on. You get plenty of feedback from a variety of professionals in that group. Teachers, there's music therapists. I think there's a speech therapist and an occupational therapist in there too somewhere. So you're going to get a variety of questions answered if you don't have a team at your school that can help you. That's what our groups are for. They're wonderful. So yeah, just Rule 2 callouts may provoke your students. Never punish for vocal stimming. And again, get to know your students before we kind of implement that. So Tammy, real quick, can you sum up Rule 2 and kind of what we do?
Thank you, LaKedria.
You're welcome.
Yes, rule number 2 is to raise your hand for permission to speak. And so we are constantly, as teachers, needing attention of our students in order to be able to teach. But some students, it's not intentional, but they are stemming with words. And so we have to be a little bit careful with this idea of having a call out that makes them feel like they are letting the team down. And so we just got to figure out as teachers a way to maybe ask them instead of the entire class to call out what rule number 2 is, to remind everyone around them so that they don't feel like everyone's pointing it out that they're doing that.
Thank you, Tammy. All right. Brings us to rule number 3. Almost the same as rule number 2. Hey-ha, class.
Hey-ha, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, LaKedria.
Mere words.
Mere words.
Rule 3.
Rule 3.
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
For permission to leave your seat.
For permission to leave your seat. Ah.
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
For permission to leave your seat.
For permission to leave your seat. Ah.
Okay. So, similar to rules 1 and 2, recognize this is going to look different for everybody. Rule 2 and 3 can be turned off at your leisure. Some teachers allow their students to move around the classroom freely during different times. You just kind of have to recognize. However, my next point, take frequent breaks. Okay, you're going to have students that cannot focus on a task for longer than 10 minutes. Make sure you're always changing up your activities kind of every 10, 15 minutes if you can. And then have a designated area for your students to go that need that break, that wiggle break, and they don't need to ask permission to do it. Okay. When I taught gen ed 2nd grade, I had a box. All I did was put masking tape in a corner of my room. And it was kind of a wide area. It was kind of where we did our carpet work. When the students were at their seat doing independent work, that box was theirs. They could jump in the box. They can walk the perimeter of the box. They could do anything in that box because it wasn't disrupting the students. And they got that wiggle break in that I knew they needed, and they knew they needed. You have students that know what they need, and when they need that wiggle break, they need a place to go in your room. So this can be very simple, like a masking tape box that I made, or now I have a sensory path in my room that I've just put different things on the floor, and they'll jump and twirl and do anything like that. Also, whole brain teaching tip, New World Hopscotch. Our little affirmation where you're jumping in and out of hoops and the pattern is different and you're saying, I am smart, I am this, I am that. You're saying different affirmation. Wonderful sensory outlet for your students. New World Hopscotch. So you need an area that your students can go to. So those are my 2 big tips. Take frequent breaks and give them that area that they can go to without permission. Okay. Tammy, real quick, can we sum up kind of what happens in Rule 3?
Rule 3 is raise your hand for permission to leave your seat. And what we need to make sure our kids have is lots of breaks frequently so that they can maintain that attention. And number 2, they need a space, maybe if you already have hopscotch on the floor, where they could go stand in a box and get their wiggles out.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Rule number 4, mere words.
Mirror words.
Rule 4.
Rule 4.
Make smart choices.
Make smart choices.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Okay, so make smart choices. This is our whole brain teaching cover all rule, and I absolutely love it because it does cover all. However, for some students, you got to define what a smart choice is. Explicitly teach what is and what is not a smart choice. Recognize that a student's perception of what a smart choice is may look like to us not a so smart choice. I'm going to give you the example of Timmy. Timmy is this lovely, lovely little boy who overhears a friend during a spelling test kind of not understand or not know a word. So Timmy, using his glorious kindness, gets up, goes over to this other friend and helps him spell said word during the test, right? We're during the test. Helps him spell said word. Timmy is using his glorious kindness in his brain, right? In his brain, that is a smart choice for Timmy to do, right? Timmy's helping a friend. Man, my friend's in need of help. I'm going to go help him, right? It's during a test. So whatever our teacher brains are going, he's cheating. Ah! So recognize that a smart choice for our student may look like a not so smart choice to a teacher, and we have to be able to navigate that. So some students need visuals. What is a smart choice? What isn't a smart choice? Practice what's a smart choice in the classroom versus what's a smart choice in the hallway versus what's a smart choice in the bathroom and the lunchroom. You're having to explicitly teach what these choices are. And again, you might have to make a book, a visual book for some of your students. These are smart choices when I go here. It may have to be a book. And they just need explicit practice with making smart choices. Or is this a smart choice? Is it not a smart choice? Do right way, wrong way. Turtle, hawk. Is this a hawk choice or is it a turtle choice? What kind of choice is it? You're just going to need to practice. So I'm going to keep going, Tammy. I'm not going to make you sum up that rule because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We just need an idea of what a smart choice is, defined and explicitly stated, okay? And maybe visualized. And then our favorite rule, mere words.
Mere words.
Rule 5.
Rule 5.
Make our dear team stronger.
Make our dear team stronger.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
So, make our dear team stronger. Again, explicitly teaching and modeling what this looks like. They need visual representation of how do we make our dear team stronger? If we are doing a task and you get upset about something, or a friend gets upset, what can we do to make our team stronger in that moment? Practice what that looks like. And know that some things that you may be asking a child or a student to do might be triggering to them. So, for instance, if you don't do popcorn reading, but say, Susie, can you read this passage? Susie may freeze up because of that enlarged amygdala, right? They may be just kind of in a state where they don't want to do anything. And it's not, again, not intentional, but they're like, you can't, you're not going to make me read. Not happening. Not happening. So it may be triggering or hard to do. So that's another way we can make our Dare team stronger, bring in that strong 5, send out strength using our glorious kindness hearts. We can do all of that in those moments to help our students. And then again, practice all the time, what this looks like, how to do it, and practice in various situations. All right. And I'm sorry, I'm going a little faster now because I want to be able to get this in. All right. And finally, my favorite rule ever, diamond rule. Keep your eyes on the target. Keep your eyes on the target. So, my couple points for diamond rule. Always define your target. Some students will come in, and again, they have that wandering mind anyway. That is their brain state. That is where they are. They have the wandering mind. So, you need to say, all right, class, page 43, 43, 43, using our three-peat. And that is our target. Page 43 right now is our target. Your eyes need to be on page 43, tracking, blah, blah, blah. You can, say more if you need to. Okay. Define the target. Is it the speaker? Is it the chalk, or is it the whiteboard? Is it the smartboard? Is it your book? Define that target all the time. And then keep in mind that students with visual issues, students with visual tracking issues, students with visual perception issues are going to take a while to find that target. Students with ADHD, autism, etc., things that require kind of fast movement and focus, it's going to take them a little bit of time. You got to build up that stamina. And then again, change up your activity every few moments, because those same students with vision issues, focus issues, vision issues and focus issues are going to need a change in activity every few minutes. All right, Tammy, real quick, can you sum up rules 4 and 5 and the diamond rule, because they all kind of bleed into each other?
Yes, thank you, LaKedria.
You're welcome.
So, rule number 4 is to make smart choices. And sometimes we're going to be in a situation where we need to teach the kids what a smart choice is, because their idea of a smart choice in their mind, being kind versus making a smart choice and not helping someone cheat. Rule number 5 is making our Dare team stronger. And again, we're going to have to probably model that for them to understand what they're doing in class and how it can help everyone around them. And finally, when it comes to the diamond rule, which is keeping their eyes on the target, we're going to have to verbally and visually show them where we want those eyes to be so that they can follow that rule. Even if their eyes are everywhere, we can help redirect them and continually call them back using that diamond rule.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, and then my last few tips I just want to go over. All right, so some final things I just want to point out. When we use our whole brain teaching rules, we have other things that we use. We use rule call-outs. We use flight school. All of those things that we know as practice. We're just practicing the rules and practicing, kind of what to do, right? Some of our students may perceive those things as punishment. Okay, so it is very important to model, this is not a punishment. You are not in trouble. We are literally practicing. So when you do flight school, teachers, you're in it with them. You're not saying, oh, you're going to flight school at recess and that's it, and you're going to stand here and practice rules. No, when they're standing in front of you practicing the rules, you are doing it with them. You are in flight school too. Look at, and I don't know the chapter, I hope someone in the chat does. There's a chapter on the golden consequence, and it talks about flight school and how they can earn dice rolls and be gloriously kind, and eventually you'll have a whole class in flight school because they love it so much. Practice like that so that they don't perceive these things that are practiced as punishment. And then make sure you are using every single student in your classroom to review rules, to be a student leader, to lead the class and say, class, yes. Everybody in your class can be a leader. Your beloved rascals will be some of your most excellent leaders. Oh my goodness. they're great. Never point out a turtle behavior. Be very vague about it. Oh, these people in the back aren't, or there's some friends not following directions quickly. Oh, I hear, oh, I see some friends over here kind of getting out of their seat without permission, things like that. Don't call out anybody. We don't want to call out individual names, only positive shout outs. And then again, enlist the help of your special education team, your occupational therapist, your speech therapist, school counselors. Get help. And again, if you don't have a team at your school, run to our Facebook pages because we got you. You're going to get 5,000 tips from wonderful, wonderful educators and other professionals. So those are my final tips. And now I want to bring Kyla back in to see if we have any questions because I'm running long.
You're still cool, LaKedria.
Thank you.
LaKedria, mostly the biggest question that I noticed was just kind of a question about when you make that movement spot, how do you keep those kids from just going there and just sitting? But I kind of addressed that, and so did Nancy, about just like setting those expectations, practicing role model, role play, what that is, and that it's not just to be lazy, it's for a reason, and then you go back to your seat.
Yeah, so the same can be said for, I know a lot of people have calming corners, sensory corners in your house, and that's the same idea. It's a tool, and you want to teach, them how to use those spots. If you use conscious discipline and you have that safe space, they talk about all the time how you have to model to use that safe space. It's the same in the box. I modeled that box for weeks before my students were really using it correctly. And I will set, and this is a time where I do use timers. I'll say, hey, you can take 2 minutes and go ahead. If you need more time, come and let me know. But 2 minutes and they should be good to go. If they're not, we can address that later.
And I have one other thing. It's not a question, but it is an amazing tip from Kim. She said that she printed out a visual target that she can clip almost anywhere in the room if it's not something, there it is, not something on her, on the student's desk. She said she even clips it to her lanyard when she's the target. And I think that is just an amazing, even for not your inclusive kiddos, like just anybody, look, I am the target, here I am, or it's over here on the board. I love it.
That is 10-finger woo, Kim. Thank you. That is brilliant. I play find the target with my students. So like I will run around the room and they have to keep their eyes on me. So I'll stand up on desks and chairs and climb things I'm not supposed to climb, and they still have to keep their eyes on the target. So let your students play that game. They can be the running target, things like that. That's a great idea, Kim. Thank you. Mm-hmm. It's a great idea. See, we get a lot of great ideas here. That's awesome. Well, are there any other questions? I don't want to leave anybody hanging, but if there are, leave them in the comments. We will come back always and answer questions. But this has been awesome. And thank you, Coach and Nancy. This is a sea of gold up here, so all excited. All of us are gold certified, so it's really nice to kind of be in the driver's seat with this. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I hope you all have an amazing night. Thank you all for being here.
Bye.